welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts. One of my lovely members, and they ask me lots of questions, and I love it all the time, asked me if I'd used any of these dividing jugs with resin. Now, I know these dividing jugs are often used for acrylic pours and things like that, but they look great for resin. But who knows if they're going to work or not. So this is a resin experiment. These come as a set of 4, but you can buy them singly, but they're not expensive. And I will link them in the description below. I'm going to do a couple of different things with them. I'm going to do a pour on this piece of plywood that I've already primed with white paint. And I'm also going to do a couple of coasters to see how they come out. So stick around and see what happens. I'm using the J. Diction Epoxy ×3 UV resist resin here, and I really highly recommend it. It is very UV resistant, as you'll see in an experiment I'm doing in a couple of months' time. It has worked really, really well. I'm so impressed. I'm also going to be mixing up 3 mica powders, 3 different mica powders, all contrasting colours, because this is an experiment. I want to see how well these jugs work. Therefore, I thought using really contrasting colours would work best. You'll have to excuse my voice at the moment. I'm really full of cold, but I need to get this voice overdone. So, unfortunately, I do sound like I've got my head down the toilet. I'm also using my white resin pigment, which is a really great pigment. It's so cost effective to make your own titanium white and black pigments. And if you want to know how to do that, and save yourself quite a bit of money, I'll link that video at the end of this one. Now, whenever you're using mica powder and resin, unless you want a spotty-ish effect for it, and sometimes that can look lovely in galaxy pours and things like that, make sure that you give it a really good mix. Then leave it for about a minute and then mix it again. Look how wonderfully my white mixes in. Really does mix in great. Cures beautiful as well. So what I'll do is I will fill up this jug. Now, I'm making sure that I keep each side clean. So I don't want to contaminate any of the other side with the colours. And you know how messy I am, so this did take a bit of work for me. I also wish I'd given the white the same level as I do the other 3 colours, and you'll see why in a minute. An awesome thank you to everyone that got me a coffee last month. Without you guys and the people that are members, I wouldn't be able to keep these channels going. So thank you very much indeed for that. So here we are, filling up the gold. Look how sparkly and iridescent that is. I love it. And then my last one, which is the red. And I'm going to be pouring into the coasters as well as the picture. If you haven't checked out my other channel, which is a crafting channel, of course, then please check it out. The link for that is in the description below. It's called Steve McDonald Crafting, and I do lots of upcycling, making boxes, all sorts of things. I just have so much fun over there. So this is why I wish I'd done everything the same level as that white, because it kind of was too much in there to start with, and it poured out really quickly. And I think if I put less in there, I would have got a more even pour, but we live and learn. The other thing is I didn't allow this to sit or thicken at all, so this is really just after it's been mixed. Maybe if I'd let it sit and thicken a little longer, it would have given a different effect, and that's something I might try going forward as well. I'd look forward to hearing if you've done that in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to see what sort of results you've had if you've done this technique before. So put them to one side and set up my board. Finish topping this up, and now I have got all my colours at the same level when I go to pour this, and it did actually make a really big difference. Here are all the names of my lovely members. I hope you enjoyed the competition we had last week in the members area for the Amazon vouchers. The people that won the £50, the £25 and the £10 vouchers, I hope you've enjoyed spending them as much as I enjoyed giving them away. So levelling this all off now using my empty dessert pots underneath to lift it up from the silicone base. Now I want to pour this leaving some negative space around it, which is different for me because normally I cover the whole board, but I just thought it would be nice to try this a little bit different. I think this is coming out so pretty. I love it. I love the fact that it's given the divisions. But we all know that resins is... I sound like Gollum. We all know that resin is going to move around. And so I think if I'd have let it thicken up in pot first in its little divisions, it maybe wouldn't have moved around as much, but I still think the final picture, which you'll see shortly, is really, really beautiful, and I can't think how else you would have got that finished effect. So any of the negative areas that I'm not 100% sure that I still want to be negative, I'm just going through and adding a little bit more resin to it, making sure that I squeeze out every last bit. This jug cleaned up so easily. I used a baby wipe on it once it was empty, didn't let it dry because I didn't want it to dry in there and go hard, and then wiped it out with a baby wipe, came up spotless. But it's silicone after all, so it really worked really well. And the great thing as well about pouring on a board is that you can pop any bubbles using a torch, and I will link the torch in the description below. Gets rid of those bubbles really, really quickly and effectively. You know I don't like the idea of spraying 99% alcohol in a room, especially if you're likely to be using a flame, and it can get into your lungs or catch fire, so I don't like that idea. Using a long neck lighter to get rid of the bubbles on top of the coasters, and now I will leave this to cure up. This is cured up, and I think it's cured up really well. I have to say, I think the patterns come out great. I mean, it's not as defined as it was when I poured it, but then it's resin, so it's never going to be, because it blends into each other as it's curing. But overall, I think that's a really nice pattern. I think that's come out really well. I loved using it. It was so easy to use, and I think you would get different patterns depending on which ones you used. Let's have a look at the coasters. And again, the coasters haven't kept the pattern, although they have on this side kept a really pretty pattern. Let's have a look. I could do with probably another hour, a few hours curing. And underneath, I think they have come out absolutely lovely. And these little jugs were so... oh, that one's pretty. These little jugs were so cheap, really reasonable price. I will link them in the description below. I'll keep all my overpour bits because I will use those in a project at some point. I love it when you do a little bit of an overpour because it cleans your mat nicely as well. So there we go. I would say that's definitely a success. It's different than if you were using acrylic pours, but it really does give you a lovely picture. And I like that fact that you've got negative space on here. Rather than white, perhaps it would have been better in a black or something, but we live and learn. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd be really interested to know if you've used these, and if you've used them, how you've used them. So let me know that in the comments. If you'd like to get hold of anything that I've used today, then I will link everything in the description below. Or if you'd like to buy me a coffee, then the link for that is also in the description below. It really does help me and help my channel. Please boop that like button. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Take care. Enjoy your resin. Bye.